Hi friends and welcome to my channel, Dragon's Jewel Creative Gems. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. Today I'm going to be doing my first WIP Chat, and I figured I'd make it all about me so that you can kind of get to know myself. I apologize if my voice does anything funny. I've been sick for about the last week or so, but that's about it. I've got my coffee here as well, as it's first thing in the morning. It's about almost 10 o'clock, I think. So if you hear me slurping it like it's gold, I apologize. So I'll tell you what I'm working with here today. I have the Diamond Art Canvas, Succubus by Christopher Lavelle. I've just kind of started it, so I'm working on the bottom here. And right here is kind of the scarf that comes up and wraps around her bottom. And you can kind of see right at the top here the bit of her upper thigh starting there. So then her leg is there, and then some kind of the ground, just so you kind of know what area I'm working on. Today I'll be working with my, let's turn it this way, my DP Gal Creations. This is from a small shop on Etsy, which is actually Edmonton based, so local to me. And then I'll be working with my favorite pen here, which I got from TJ Custom Pens. I still have some of Randa's Crafty Corner Pumpkin Spice in my pen that I'll be working with as well. So I'll just get myself set up here and start telling you a bit about myself. Oh no, and I can see the plastic ripping already. Of course that would happen. I apologize if you see my head or anything in here. That was not a very smooth transition. There we go. Got that little sneaky piece. That would end up giving me a little bit of trouble there. So yeah, I'll tell you a bit of myself. I call my channel Dragon's Jewel Creative Gems because Dragon's Jewel is actually my gaming name. And Creative Gems I thought would be a great way of describing the diamond painting process that I've been, or the diamond painting process, my diamond painting journey that I've wanted to kind of capture on this channel. So there's that. Obviously, with it being a gaming name, I'm a gamer. PC gamer mainly. Although I have played many consoles. I've grown up playing the old school Nintendo, Game Boy. I had Atari when the PlayStation first came out, the Sega Genesis. All of that, like, exciting stuff when you're a kid and these new consoles come out. Now it seems like they're coming out really regularly all the time. We got a little hijacker here who's a different color. Anyways, I'm a stay-at-home mom to a 6-year-old. He actually just turned 6 on November 10th here. There's a whole story behind him, and maybe one of these days I'll do a WIP Chat with just his story, because believe me, there is one there. Other than that, I'm a wife. I've been with I've known my husband since 2000, so I've known him now for like, what 22 years? And we've been together for, in some form or way, like dating, that kind of thing. Seeing each other now for about, I would say 21 of those years. Or 20 of those years, something like that. I know we had like almost a year break where we went our separate ways for a bit. We had some growing to do or something, just some life experiences, I think, to kind of, because we were young, we were like early 20s, so we had kind of, some growing up to do, some life experiences to go through, I think, so we kind of broke up for a bit. but remained friends. And then got back together, and we're together for about 4 years before we got engaged. We were engaged for a full year before we got married in 2006, so we've now been married since then, which would, oh God, how many years is that? That would be, math in my head. Anyways, we've been married since 2006, that's 15, 16 years now, something like that we've been married. So a long time. We have a son. We also own 2 dogs. One is a Jack Russell Terrier. And he was, we call him our self-rescue. His name is Trigger. And he is now 17 years old. He's an old man. And, well, he's starting to slow down and show signs of that. His depth perception's kind of off now, so he doesn't jump up on the couch to snuggle as much. He kind of lays on the dog bed on the floor more often than not. We have to help him up into the vehicle, whereas before he would just take those big leaps, but now that he's getting older, it's a little harder for him to jump up like that. So there's that, and we got him actually just before we got married too. So we've had him for as long as we've been married, pretty much. And then it wasn't until we bought our house in, what was that, 2011, I think is when we bought our house, that we ended up getting our second dog, and she's a larger breed, a German Shepherd Husky mix, and her name is Janaya, and she's now 10 years old, something like that. And she's another rescue. We actually got her through a rescue as well. So both our dogs are rescues, completely different stories, completely different dogs. Both absolutely fantastic. Very, very sweet. They get along great. They love their kid. Our Jack Russell is actually best friends with him, and it's quite cute. They'll, like, lay on the floor, and our Jack Russell will just, like, I swear, slobber him, bathe him left, right, and center, and he just sits there laughing and loves it. They're so weird together, but it's cute. And then our big girl, she likes him too, but he tends to bug her a bit, and he'll put toys on top of her and hats on top of her, and she's so good. She tolerates it, even though she has that expression on her face, like, really, does he have to do this? Do I have to sit here? Like, what? This kid is so weird. So my life is definitely very busy. It can be very chaotic at times too. Being a stay-at-home mom with him, he's in kindergarten now. So he when he's not sick or stuff like that, he's obviously goes to school during the days. Which gives me a little bit of a break because he's a very, very active. Always has to be doing something. Always moving, on the go. Kind of a kid. And I think partly is that because his story is a very, very long one, but he lived quite a bit of his life in the hospital, and so I think now the outside world has so much going on, of course, that he's constantly got to be doing something. He's just a very high energy kid. So he definitely keeps me busy. And that's mostly where my days are focused, on him, obviously. Other than that, obviously, I enjoy diamond painting. Diamond painting is a fairly new craft or hobby that I've gotten into since COVID. And I've knew about it for a while and I wanted to try it. And it wasn't until my parents gave me a gift card to Michael's. That's why I'm like, you know what, I'll buy one of those diamond dots. Diamond paintings, give it a try. So I did that and got hooked. Went and got a second one. Finished that off. Completely got addicted by that point. So now I've taken it up and I diamond paint most days if I can. Honestly, when I was sick, I didn't. It was kind of like one of that upper respiratory stuff that was going around. My son brought it home from school, so of course he had it as well. So he was sick and I was taking care of him, and then I had it and I was trying to take care of myself as well. So I didn't get a lot of diamond painting done then, but for most parts I try to do a little bit a day, whether it's like one of these size sections, sometimes two if I have a little bit more time. Crafting has been something I've done for as long as I can remember. I used to craft with my grandma after school when I was younger all the time. There was always some sort of craft with toilet paper rolls or kind of those random household objects that you collect and kind of be like, oh, I'm going to make an angel out of a toilet paper roll or some pasta, and then I'll paint it. And like, that was kind of my first beginnings into craft, and I've always enjoyed something creative for sure. As I got older, kind of my junior high school, it transitioned more into drawing. So I would take up drawing. I was never good at anatomy drawing, so of course I did a lot of tracing to kind of get used to anatomy drawing for the longest time, kind of get the proportions of the face right, the proportions of the body, the hands, the feet, and I mean, I'm still not great at it. That's probably an area I struggle with. I always enjoyed drawing animals though, scenery, that sort of thing. Coloring was something I always enjoyed, so naturally when adult coloring became a huge trend, I went out and I got a whole ton of books. Started with Crayola pencil crayons. Recently decided, you know what, after all these years, like 20-year-old plus Crayolas that I'm working with on these adult coloring books in my spare time, maybe not so much, so I upgraded to some Castle Art brands and the alcohol markers, and so now I've got some better quality stuff, and I really kind of ran with that for a while. I still do all sorts of crafting. I got into learning more about acrylic paints, so I'll go and buy the canvases and kind of come up with my own little sceneries, or I'll find a picture on like Pinterest or a free stock image site or something like that and kind of replicate it into a painting, or even another painting that somebody else has done that's inspiring. So if it's like I've seen, let's say they've painted a piece of scenery, I'm like, oh, I like that general kind of landscape. I might change up the colors and obviously use slightly different techniques than them, but sometimes I'll do that in spare time. I've also dabbled in doing a little bit of, my husband plays Magic the Gathering. He has for quite some time, and I know a huge thing that became popular with that was some altered art of Magic the Gathering, and so he gave me a couple of his cards, and kind of said, here, have fun, practice. These ones are, you know, not the most expensive kind of things, so I didn't have to worry about if I ruined them, because I always doubt myself sometimes when it comes to those kind of things, like, oh, I'm going to screw up, or it's not going to turn out the way I envision in my head, I'm not going to like it. So that was something I was worried about, but he gave me a couple of kind of his uncommons that he didn't really care about. And actually, they turned out way better than I thought. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on people that were doing it on their channels, and so I kind of got some little tips and tricks and advice before I dove in. So they actually turned out better, and I really enjoyed that because it's very similar to using an acrylic paint and painting a picture. So I've done a bit of that in the crafty side of things. What else have I done? I've worked with polymer clay a little bit. I still have some that I would like to try some sculpting and stuff with, but I've worked with it in the sense of I made my own kind of goblet and had a dragon eye that I put on there and kind of made the goblet look like dragon scales or skin. And so I've done kind of crafty little projects like that for myself. Just fun little things that I want to try, and I mean, like most people, I probably second guess myself and then they turn out way better than I ever expect them to. High school, I did a little bit of sewing and a little bit of knitting, but never really kick-started into any of that. Kind of as an adult too, I've gotten into a lot of mixed media. Oh my goodness. Okay, okay, another thing about me, I wix my words all the time. In other words, I mix my words. And on a good day, I'm lucky if I speak English properly. Okay, where was I now? Okay, and I'm also good at forgetting where I am. Right, as an adult, crafting, I got into scrapbooking. I did that for many, many years. I still do that. And then that led me down the path to card making. So that's another craft that I do quite a bit of. And I'll make anything from birthday cards to wedding cards, and I've actually even sold some to family and friends to give away to their family and friends. Well, I guess my family is my family, but anyways, other family members and friends. So very, very much always been into some sort of craft. And over the years, I kind of bounce between them too, and I kind of come back to old ones that I haven't done in a while. Try new ones as the trends come out. So always into something. Another thing is I used to do a lot of role-playing when I was younger, text-based mainly. I did try D&D for a while with my husband because that was another activity that him and his friends used to do. Really enjoyed that. The D&D system, and then of course I did online. I did the White Wolf Vampire the Masquerade style stuff. Always been into kind of medieval era, the Dark Ages, Vikings, anything fantasy based. Really, also I've always enjoyed stuff for. So a lot of kind of my art and TV shows are influenced by that as well. So I'll enjoy a lot of movies and shows that are those genres. Huge true crime. Huge true crime. Mystery thriller fan as well. Absolutely love reading, once again, that kind of fantasy, see, there goes the English again, that fantasy genre, A little bit of sci-fi in there too, but mystery thriller, huge influences there when it comes to reading as well. Let's see what else about me. Oh yeah, I do photography as well. I enjoy taking my camera out, and usually I like capturing kind of buildings, abandoned buildings, scenery, trees, mushrooms, animals, not so much portraits of people, just kind of the more artistic viewpoints too of objects. So sometimes I'll just zoom in and do like macro shots of something, because artistically there's a pattern or design about it that captures kind of my interest or my eye, and I go, oh, that would make a really cool photo. So I'll do a bunch of that. And actually when COVID first hit, I spent a lot of the summer with my best friend, who had just come back from living over in Ireland for 2 years, and we spent a lot of the summer just driving around Alberta, checking out different towns and cities, and then we would check out kind of like these abandoned houses and buildings and areas, and we even took overnight trips down to kind of like southern Alberta, down by the Drumheller area, and checked out like old ghost towns and captured some kind of photos of that whole area, and that was really fun. Always fun to do a road trip with your best friend. And of course we would crank our music, which when I'm with her is usually a lot of her stuff, but she'll mix in my stuff too. We both love Dermot Kennedy, who's an Irish lad. So of course he was always on our playlist when we go on road trips. And Moist, which is probably was her favorite band, but Dermot might take over, she says sometimes. So I'm not sure where she stands on that anymore, but I know those are pretty neck and neck for her. And then my big taste in music is, other than being a big fan of Dermot, which is generally not my style, but I love his storytelling side of it, and kind of the softer, poetic lyric. Well, I guess they're not always soft. Sometimes they're dark. But the poetic side of his lyrics, he's very heavily influenced by opposites. So he'll have a song where he sings about love and hate and life and death, and so it's like polar opposites, and very, very, very deep old soul lyrics. But for the most part, I generally listen to heavy metal and alternative rock music. There is the occasional pop song that honestly just ends up getting super catchy. There's just no avoiding that, and I think that's kind of from my young 20s when I went out dancing a lot in the clubs. That I still kind of get drawn to that sometimes. But for the most part, it's metal and alternative stuff on my thing, and then lots of Dermot. Every song by Dermot pretty much is on there, which is funny because we'll go from that all of a sudden into like heavy Slipknot or Disturbed, and he'd be like, is this the same playlist? Yep, it is. Music, I find, speaks to people in different ways, and a lot of times I'm drawn to that because I can relate to that based off stuff I've been in my life and things I've been through. But also, it's just, I love the sound it produces, the beats, the guitar riffs, the drums, all of that. And a lot of metal music, if people don't listen to it or don't know the genre very well, is very classical influenced as well. So a lot of times most metal artists do have kind of an instrumental that focuses on that a bit, and those, but they still kind of have like that metal edge to it, and those are really fun to listen to. I remember being at the 9 Inch Nails concert, and they did about half an hour long of just instruments and their lighting, and it was probably the best part of that show, to be honest, other than obviously hearing your favorites from the old days and their newer albums. And if anybody has never seen a 9 Inch Nails concert, Trent Reznor has always been amazing at kind of the production side of their shows with the lighting and all of that as well, and just the way they set it up is amazing. So that's kind of my music influences and styles that I enjoy. What else is there? I'm a coffee addict. I enjoy coffee, obviously. I don't just enjoy it, I live off of it. I have to have my coffee first thing in the morning. And I have to be able to have at least 2 cups before I kind of fully wake up and function. And sorry about that. Lots little remnants of the cold there. Or that respiratory virus, whatever. Brain. Right. What was I saying now? Oh, I'm drawing a complete and total blank. Sorry about that again. Blank. Animals. Huge animal lover. Always loved cats growing up. Dogs. Love the mythical and fantasy creatures too. I'm huge dragon lover. Huge dragon lover. I would say that's probably my favorite kind of fantasy mythical creature is the dragon. And like just that whole side. Fairies is another huge, absolutely love anything fairy related as well. I also enjoy watching animes. I haven't seen all of them, but definitely over the years I've gotten into quite a few of them, more and more, as I discover them. I've watched a bunch on Crunchyroll, I've watched Netflix ones, I take recommendations from friends, and of course I've watched those, so I watch quite a bit of anime. Also like to travel, and I've done a bit of it. I haven't done a ton, as much as I would like, and I haven't been to all the places I would like to go, but I have done some. I've done a lot of traveling, obviously, within Alberta. Canada in general. One of my favorite places in Canada is actually the East Coast, Nova Scotia area, particularly kind of in around Dartmouth, Halifax. I went up to PEI and Cape Breton, which are absolutely gorgeous as well. Peggy's Cove out east is probably one of my favorite places. Now, I used to go there as a child, and I just remember hopping around on all the rocks and big waves coming up and splashing, and just remembering that the power of the sea, and just how beautiful it was, and the fresh kind of spray from the ocean there. And so that is probably, I call it my happy place. It's one of the places I love most to go and visit when I'm there. And it's changed over the years, and recently, I guess, now they've got like a little boardwalk that goes out to the lighthouse on the rocks. And so it's changed a bit, and it's become more of a touristy spot than it used to. Not that it never wasn't, but it was more natural and to the land, and now they've added an ease of access, because now people, obviously wheelchairs, walkers, all that kind of thing, want to go out and see it too. So I mean, I understand it, but it does take away from that natural raw beauty that always used to be there. So that's one of my favorite places in Canada. I would have to say the Rocky Mountains. Of course, I've been there numerous times in Jasper, Banff. Those are absolutely gorgeous places to visit as well, especially if you're an outdoorsy person and you like to hike, and there's tons of trails, and then you can see the bighorn sheep and all of that, and bears and kind of your wildlife. I really enjoyed when we got to go to Maui as well. That was another place I enjoyed visiting and traveling, and just the fresh fruit and pineapple there, the beaches, the tropical, just the laid-back lifestyle as well. It really felt like a vacation spot, and I fell in love with it when we were there. We were lucky. We went for like 2 weeks, and we stayed in this condo by the water, oceanfront there, and we had the sea turtles that would come up and bathe on the rocks at on the property off to the one side where there was like a rocky beach area. They would come up on that, and so we could go out and we could just look at them. They were so calm. They would kind of, they'd be sunbathing, sleeping, and they'd maybe open an eye and look at you to make sure you weren't actually disturbing them, but you could actually sit down on a rock really close to them, and we got some amazing photos that way of the sea turtles. So that was another amazing experience. And that's one thing I love about traveling, is you get those experiences. You can kind of get immersed in the culture of the area you're in. We usually like to try to hit up a couple of restaurants where they serve local dishes, so we can try some of the cuisine that's local to the area. So when I travel, that's what I like to do, as well as kind of check out, you know, the art scene and nightlife and all of that. I've done a lot of going to plays. That's another thing I enjoy doing. I like going and seeing plays at our local theaters. And I would say probably the best one I saw, tough one, but there was Wicked that I got to go see at the Jubilee here in Edmonton, which is where I live. I got to see that when they were here, and that was extremely, extremely well done. I loved that one. Another one that I did that I really, really loved was The Lion King, which they did there as well. And I just remember them. They had, like, the way they did their costuming for the animals were like these big puppet kind of thing, and they had them walk right down the aisle where you're seated, and so that was a really cool experience too when they came. I've also seen some smaller plays at like our local theaters that are kind of in little side cafes and stuff as well. And then I've gone to our Citadel, which is bigger than the kind of those side cafe productions, but smaller than the big Jubilee productions that travel from city to city. So I've seen a lot of Broadways, a lot of plays. I really enjoy doing those. Unfortunately, I don't get to do them as often as I would like, but I've done them. Another events that I like enjoying is we get, every couple of years we get the video games live, and that's really cool because they take the most recent video games, and the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra will actually play music from the video games, and then they do little clips up on a screen for you to kind of watch of the actual video games. So they'll go through, like, some video games have absolutely stunning scenery and graphics, and so they'll kind of go through those up on a screen, and kind of they'll tell a story at the same time as they play the orchestra plays the music. And so we've done that, I think, 2 years now. I've gone to 2 of those, and those are absolutely amazing as well. So it's funny because I like cultured stuff, but then I also like nerdy stuff, and it's really cool when they mix the two. And that's what I kind of find video games live is a bit of that. So that's another thing that I really enjoy, is doing stuff like that. I think other than that, there's not really much I can think of to tell you about myself. That's just kind of, I guess, touchstone. If there's anything that you would like to know, if you're curious about, feel free to either email me. My email is in all my descriptions down below. Sorry. You can send me an email, or you can do it in a comment as a question. So maybe what I'll do is, like, if there's enough of them, I can do a Q&A in a WIP Chat and answer some of your questions if you're curious. Or I can just answer them one-off here and there as I come across them. However, if there is something you want to know that you're curious about, if you'd like to see another WIP Chat, maybe talking a little bit more about my dog's story, my son's story, which I'm thinking might be a fun one, because he's got quite the lengthy story to himself. So I might do a WIP Chat where you just talk about how he became a mother, that whole journey. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I'm going to... I know I didn't get very far in this WIP Chat. Or not my WIP Chat. My WIP, which is work in progress. I know I probably didn't get very far. I was doing a whole lot of chatting and getting distracted. Welcome to my life. That's just kind of how I roll. I do that. I get sidetracked sometimes, and then I go off on a tangent and forget what I'm doing, or I stop what I'm doing and I talk, and eventually I'm sure I'll speed these up and that, and I'll get more done. But so this is what I've gotten done now. It's mostly my 310s blacks. But yeah, so if you've liked this video, hit like down below. Love it if you subscribe and join the community. Comment if you have any questions that you want to ask that I can answer in a future WIP Chat or a future video. Yeah. So we'll see you in the next video. Bye.